The Fantastic Four movie just got blown wide open. Another Slipknot rumor has found its way into the rumor mill as far as music goes, and new sources on an old Warner Brothers rumor that we need to discuss, and quite a bit more, honestly. Rumor mill's not a slouch this week.
It's classified.
Hello nerds, and welcome to the Rumor Mill. You have found the appropriate cheat code to get to the news before it becomes news. Here we will discuss rumors in the pop culture and nerdy realm of things, then we will discuss the probability that those rumors are legitimate, and then finally probably a little bit of my own personal speculation. If you want the more concrete news that has already become news, then there is a full news show over on the main channel called The Week in Nerddom, which you can find linked down in the description, as well as at the end of this video. Now, let's see what all of those rumor mongers have to say, and which of them are just plain full of poop. So, rumors, we have news sources. We have no confirmations of anything or refutations of anything this week, but we do have new sources for old rumors. The first one is one of the bigger ones. Warner Brothers Discovery is apparently selling off one more time. According to the rumor, David Zaslav is looking to sell the company very specifically to NBC Universal. We've talked about this previously, and he was hoping for NBC Universal. According to this new source that is basically elaborating on it, kind of updating us on the status of said potential thing that might be happening, is that he is almost to the point where they're writing up contracts, it sounds like. Though it does elaborate even further and says that it will be a, quote, couple of years, unquote, before it happens. So they're lining up a lot of things, according to the rumors. So that's interesting. And then we have new source for the Nintendo Switch 2 rumor. We've talked previously about the fact that it has supposedly been pushed back from Christmas this year of 2024 into sometime early of 2025. This new rumor gets a little bit more specific and says that it's going to be March of 2025 in which they're releasing the follow-up to the Switch. It also goes on to claim that the reason for the pushback is because of supply chain issues, which, if this were Microsoft or Sony, would kind of lend itself to not be accurate because they use fairly much readily available hardware when creating their consoles. However, Nintendo does not. Nintendo does very exclusive hardware. They commission some stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so long story short is that that lends to the credence of this rumor. It seems to be a little bit more likely because of that, because it's Nintendo. So that's all we got for news sources. Let's talk about the proper new rumors this week. First up, we have a rumor about Marvel's Hulk franchise. It seems that Marvel can't afford to make a Hulk movie. It seems that Mark Ruffalo has said almost very explicitly in an interview recently that Disney would not be able to afford to make a Hulk movie, which is why he then continues to say, which is why they only have him on screen as Hulk sparingly. He goes on to say that he's I forget exactly the way he puts it, but he says something along the lines of he's priced himself out. He's too expensive to do it, and also the implication is that just the special effects are too expensive to do it. I feel like if we're taking his advice, if we're taking him at his word for anything, he's an idiot. Like, this is Disney we're talking about after all. Yes, sure, they've lost a lot of money recently, but they still were printing money basically since the 80s up until recently. So I would say they still have plenty of money if they felt like it was going to be something that people were going to see. And also they have the rights to do so, because that's been the big issue with the Hulk for a long time, is there's some sort of weird shared rights situation with NBC Universal. Because they have, I don't know exactly the details, but there's still some issues between NBC and Disney as far as the character of the Hulk is concerned. They can't put him in a solo movie at all. because of whatever these licensing issues are. So I think he's just full of crap. So the likelihood here, we're gonna put this at 50%. Being generous, it is a 50%. It could definitely go either way. I honestly think the real reason behind why it could go either way has nothing to do with the fact that they can't afford it. Has everything to do with the fact that they would need to clear a bunch of licensing issues and then also make their money back. So for some reason, they don't see the Hulk as a sure thing. I think that's probably a safe bet at this point. So they're going to wait until it is a sure thing, or they have the money to spare, whichever comes first. Oh, from there, let's talk about, God, this one hurt my brain when I saw it. Ferris Bueller is apparently getting a kinda sequel a little bit. Not exactly like you're thinking. It's not any of the characters, any of the main characters, I should say, from the Ferris Bueller movie. It's the guys from the parking, or not the parking, yeah, the valets from the first movie. It's going to be how they spent that day from the first movie. That's what this one's going to be based around. This sounds like something that producers at Paramount would be like, hey, that's an interesting idea. Let's see if we can get somebody to write a script. And I think that's where we're at right now. So there's a lot that could happen between now and if this ever sees the light of day. I'm going to give this one also a 50% because theoretically it could go either way. We're going to get into speculation as to why I don't think it's going to go either way, but we'll get to that in just a minute. From there, though, let's talk about Twisted Metal. So we talked in the gaming section that one of the projects that has been a victim of this firing, of the laying off at Sony. One of the victim games has been Twisted Metal. There was supposed to be a live service Twisted Metal game apparently in the works that has now gotten the axe. This seems very freaking likely that something like this would have happened. So honestly, because of the number of people who are reporting on it and because of the status of the people who are reporting on it, I think that 70% is even a low number. I think this is very, very, very likely, but we're going with 70% likelihood either way, just to kind of cover our bases. From there, let's talk about a little bit of music. We have that Slipknot rumor. Again, we're talking rumors about who's going to be the next drummer for the mega popular Slipknot. So Eloy Casagrande, formerly of Sepultura, only up until like days ago was he playing with Sepultura. He was the drummer for Sepultura. Sepultura is on their farewell tour, is about to start rather, their farewell tour. So what would cause a man who is making decent money, presumably playing for a world-renowned metal band, what would make that guy quit said metal band that is going on their farewell tour before the farewell tour starts? A kind of last minute, like they didn't even understand, they didn't know this was happening until just a couple of days before the announcement was made to the world. So it's very much a last minute quit, and that seems to lend a little bit of credence to this, but it is Slipknot we're talking about. I don't see them going with somebody that obvious. I think that they tend to play a lot very much close to the chest, and that would not be in the wheelhouse of playing it close to the chest. So it just strikes me as not super likely. So we're going to say 30%. I'll get into a little bit more detail as to why that is in the speculation section. Our last regular rumor has to do with Fantastic Four. And actually, this is kind of a few rumors rolled up into one, with one new source for old rumors situation towards the end as well. But let's go through them in order. First up, as far as Fantastic Four goes, Reed Richards is said to be a villain, maybe not the villain, but a villain as far as the movie is concerned. In this universe, actually, let me rephrase that. Part of that is they are in a different universe. And if you remember previously, we've talked about the idea that Galactus is supposed to be the big villain for this movie. And what does Galactus do? He is the Eater of Worlds. And if he is going to eat worlds, if he's going to eat specifically the world that the Fantastic Four are from, then through some fault of Reed Richards, he is allowed to do that. And then the second part of the rumor kicks in which says this Fantastic Four is a family from an alternate universe that were exiled into the 616 or whatever they're calling the MCU, the movie universe. So there's that part of the rumor. And then we have another rumor as to who's going to be playing Galactus. Originally, it was rumored to be Antonio Banderas, but it is no longer said to be that. It is now said to be Javier Bardem. And then the new source kind of thing for the old rumor is the Terax. We talked about this in the rumor section, I think 6-8 months ago, or even longer than that maybe. Terax, though, one of the other heralds of Galactus, is said to be in this. And this rumor, this news source also says that not only that, but we very likely will see more than just Terax and the Silver Surfer as far as other heralds of Galactus go, though those other heralds will probably just be cameos or kind of passing references. They're not going to be major parts of the plot like Terax and Silver Surfer presumably are going to be. So that is kind of nuts. And all of these rumors very much feed into each other. So we're just going to give this one grade as far as likelihood. I'm going to say this one's roughly 80% likely. There is way too much. There's plenty of people talking about this as far as rumor mongers go. The Jeremy over at the Den of Nerds has a freaking sound theory as to why exactly this is very likely to be the case. So I'm going to kind of defer to him by and large as to why that is. Yeah, we're going to say 80% likely as far as like the main meat and potatoes of these rumors go. The smaller details maybe won't make it in, but the broad strokes I think are right on here. So that's all we have for regular rumors. Let's talk about some speculation on those rumors. Specifically, we're going to start with the Slipknot rumor. Slipknot didn't hire that guy. Slipknot did not hire Eloy Casagrande. They are going to find someone who is not obviously, they're going to find somebody who is less of an obvious pick, or they're going to find somebody and keep it a complete mystery until the day before the show, the very first show, which is a few weeks away actually, with whomever this new drummer is supposed to be. So also, being as this just happened with Eloy, not that 3 weeks is too soon, but it seems that they would want to give the new member of the band a little bit more breathing room as far as learning the material they're going to be playing on tour, or at least at these first few dates that they're going to be playing. So I feel like the timing is off. I think they already have their drummer, and the Eloy thing is just a red herring that honestly probably wasn't even intentional. And then the Ferris Bueller movie. My speculation as far as Ferris Bueller goes, this spin-off sequel thing, is it's going to die in development hell. They're not going to find a way to make a compelling enough script that they're going to be able to do this ridiculous spin-off that nobody's asking for. This movie, while I do believe somewhere someone is commissioning a script for it, that's about as far as it's gonna go. So yeah, I don't think that there's any reason to think that they're really gonna sully the name of Ferris Bueller that way. A Fantastic Four movie, I think we kind of already covered that. This is definitely going to be fairly accurate as far as this rumor goes. Yeah, again, we've already covered that basis, so we don't need to talk about it here. But all right, so this is the one that I think there's the most nuance to. The Twisted Metal situation as far as the gaming rumor is concerned. Yes, I do believe that the Sony laying off of, almost 1,000 employees, I think that is going to greatly affect the near future of the Twisted Metal franchise. Also, we got it on pretty good terms that they were in fact working on some sort of Twisted Metal project. I don't think we ever heard explicitly that it was going to be a free-to-play, or what was the specific live service. I don't think we ever got specifically that it was going to be a live service game, though everything is trying to be a live service game, so that's not exactly a revelation. But I think that the project as a whole is not dead. I think Sony understands that that is a franchise that is fairly beloved, has a pretty rabid fan base to a certain degree. So I don't think they're going to leave it axed for very long. Will it be a couple of years before we hear more about this? Yeah, probably. It's probably going to take them some time for one of the smaller publishers or developers rather to finish up the stuff on their slate, and then they can be assigned the new Twisted Metal game. I think it will find a new home though, and I think that is definitely something on Sony's radar when it comes to very likely profit turning IPs that are in their care that they need to do something with. Twisted Metal absolutely is one of those titles. So I can't imagine we have a more than 3-5 years tops before we hear more about this Twisted Metal project that was supposedly secretly axed. But that brings us to the end of the rumor mill, nerds. That brings us to the end of the video, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for the news. Once again, there is a full and probably much more up-to-date and recent episode of the news, the full-length version, if you will, called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, linked down in the description, and probably link popping up somewhere around my face right about now. So click on that, go check that out as well, or if you prefer your news in more truncated pieces, then by all means just stick around here and go check out some of the other stuff we offer on this channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember, nerds, that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.